Laws of exponents, powers, and products, lesson 4.2 notes. Powers of -1. So that means we're taking the base of -1 and we're raising it to a power. So if you have an even amount of powers, so even powers of -1 are equal to 1. Okay, so if you look over here to the right, I've got -1 times -1 times -1 times -1 and so forth. Okay, there's 1, 2, 3, 4 negatives, so that's going to be a +1. Well, another way of writing that would be -1 to the 4th power. 4 is an even number, so when your exponent is even, you get a positive answer. When your exponent is even, you get a positive answer. However, when the exponent is odd, so here I've got 5 negatives, that would be -1. Or another way of writing it would be -1 to the 5th power, which would give you -1. So again, if it's an even exponent, your answer is positive. But if it is an odd exponent, your answer is negative. So again, if there's an odd amount, it's going to be negative. The parentheses are extremely important. I told you I explained this later, so this is later. The parentheses are important, okay? Let's show you something. If I put in my calculator -1, let's clear that out, -1, and raise it to the 3rd power, -1 to the 3rd power, and hit enter, I get -1. In parentheses, if I put -1 to the 3rd power, I still get -1. Right? The exponent was odd, I got -1. But what if the exponent is even? So if I have -1 to the there we go, -1 to the 6th power, it tells me -1. But -1 to the 6th power put in parentheses gives me +1. So notice how you might think you're putting the same thing in your calculator, but it gave you 2 different answers. And let me show you why. When you are putting like -2 to the 3rd power, when there are no parentheses, what that means is you're actually having a negative and then 2 times 2 times 2. So 2 times 2 times 2 is 8, with the negative out front gives you -8. Down here with the parentheses, that means you're actually multiplying -2 3 times. Since there are 3 negatives, it gives you -8. So this is where if you forget to use parentheses, if it's an odd exponent, it's really not going to hurt you. Because if you forget to use the parentheses, you still get the same thing between the two of them. But if you don't use the parentheses and it is an even exponent, it's going to give you the wrong answer. If you look at the 4 here. So this would be negative. We got 1, 2, 3, 4. 2 times 2 times 2 times 2, if there's 4 of them there, that would be 16. So this right here would give you 16, but you've got this negative out front, so that is -16. But what I really want to do is multiply -2 4 times, which means there's an even amount of negatives, and if there's an even amount of negatives, it is positive. So it is extremely important when you are entering this in your calculator that you use parentheses. It's not as big of a deal if the number is positive, because a positive number can't become negative. No matter what the exponent is, a positive number cannot become negative. However, if it is a negative number, the exponent will determine if your answer is positive or negative. If the original number is negative, if the base is negative, if the exponent is odd, it's going to stay negative. But if the base is negative and the exponent is even, it's going to be positive. Let's look at these. Okay, here the base is an odd number. My exponent is odd. Sorry, let me say that again. The base is a negative number. My exponent is odd. The base is a negative number. My exponent is odd. So this result will be negative. For the second one, my base is a negative number, but this time my exponent is even. So the result will be positive. I've got a negative base with an odd exponent, so the result will be negative. A negative base with an even exponent, so my result will be positive. So again, if your base is negative, it all depends on the exponent. Odd exponents will give you a result of negative. Even exponents will give you a result of positive. Well, you need to be careful. Looking at the next one, a lot of people want to say, oh, that is an odd number. Therefore, this must be negative. But that's not the case. This right here is positive. So it's going to be a positive number. So if the original number is positive, if the base number is positive, it doesn't matter if it's odd or even. It's going to be positive. Okay, so again, my base is negative, and this is an odd exponent, so this will be negative. What about the last one, though? 0 to the third power. The exponent is odd, but your base is 0. And 0 times 0 times 0 is still 0. 0 raised to any power, except for 0, is 0. And 0 is neither positive nor negative. 0 is neither positive nor negative. Okay, so that's why it is extremely important that we use parentheses. If you don't use parentheses and it's a negative, the base is a negative number, it's going to give you a negative no matter what. So you must use parentheses. Okay, so again, if you're multiplying and it's the base is a negative number, even amounts will give you a positive answer. Odd amounts will give you negative. If the exponent is even, positive. If the exponent is odd, it's negative.